The first image he told me about was of 3 children on a road in Iceland in 1965. He said that for him it was the image of happiness, and also that he had tried several times to link it to other images, but it never worked. He wrote me, "One day I'll have to put it all alone at the beginning of a film, with a long piece of black leader. If they don't see happiness in the picture, at least they'll see the black."
That's the opening of Chris Marquar's film, Sans Soleil, Sunless. It's actually about a solar eclipse in Japan, but like many of his films, it's about many things. In this opening scene, he's describing the image of happiness, but this doesn't look like happiness to me, and it doesn't look like happiness to most viewers. That's one of the reasons he has trouble linking it to other images. Why he tried to link it to the plane coming down on the aircraft carrier, I don't know. That's a mystery to all of us, maybe even to himself. And that's a problem when we try to link, when something represents something to us, but it doesn't have a universal representation, it doesn't have that same meaning to other people, then sometimes that metaphor that we're looking for doesn't really fit the story we're trying to tell. And so Marquar does this, and he shows us something very strange, right? Because this is not the image of happiness to me. These young girls are walking away from him, not towards him. They're not coming up to say hi. They're like, who is this strange man filming us? There's a bit of fear in their face, or a bit of apprehension, a bit of mystery and wonder, like many things. What is going on here? Just as we're wondering what's going on in the scene, and just as the many people who've seen this film wonder what's going on in the scene, the girls are reacting the same way, and perhaps Marquar is too, that he doesn't know what's going on. That's why he has the problem linking this image. And so that to me is really fascinating, because here we have something that's not explainable, but yet it has a representation. What is your idea of happiness? What is a happy memory to you? And what is this? How does this speak greater to other ideas that you have or other feelings you have? Is this a one-time image of happiness, or is it something that's more universal? Say like an image of helping your grandmother cook, sitting at the breakfast table. Maybe sometime image that's a recurring image, right? It's not something that just happened once. It's something that we go to again and again. There are other images like when the parent comes home from the war, right? And we have these images of the parent coming up, showing up at a school assembly and surprising their child. This is a one-time memory. This is a one-time memory that you want to look back on, because that happy moment that here's your father, your mother, and they've returned and they're safe. And it's amazing. They've been gone for 6 months. They may have been gone for a year, or even if they've just been gone for a month, you still have that worry. They're over in a combat situation, right? There's all those fears. Even if they weren't going to face combat, they've got to get on some big plane and come back. We all know, we see on the news of plane crashes. It's always so it's a very strange. Maybe you are children of military people yourself, and you know what that experience is like, where mom or dad goes away for a long time and you worry about them, but then they return, and what a beautiful memory that is. So I'd like for you to think of, what's your happiest memory? What's your image of happiness? And what other memories does this image evoke? So let's take about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Let's do 10, and let's write about our happiest memory. I'm now going to share another scene from Sans Soleil. This is called the insane memory scene. It's just as crazy as it sounds. It's actually referring to the Alfred Hitchcock film Vertigo, in which Kim Novak and Jimmy Stewart play the two main characters. Kim Novak impersonates another woman in order to draw Jimmy Stewart in, and then that woman disappears, and Jimmy Stewart goes looking for her, and he finds her, but she's got different hair and a different look, but he knows it's her, but she won't admit to it being her. She was playing a dead woman. But now she's alive, and he doesn't understand why, but he wants to get to the bottom of it. So this is Chris Marquar's take on that situation, and what he refers to as the spiral of time.
He wrote me that only one film had been capable of portraying impossible memory, insane memory, Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. In the spiral of the titles, he saw time covering a field ever wider as it moved away, a cyclone whose present moment contains, motionless, the eye. In San Francisco, he had made his pilgrimage to all the film's locations. The florist Podesta Baldocchi, where James Stewart spies on Kim Novak. He the hunter, she the prey. Or was it the other way round? The tiles hadn't changed. He had driven up and down the hills of San Francisco where Jimmy Stewart, Scotty, follows Kim Novak, Madeline. It seems to be a question of trailing, of enigma, of murder, but in truth it's a question of power and freedom, of melancholy and dazzlement, so carefully coded within the spiral that you could miss it, and not discover immediately that this vertigo of space in reality stands for the vertigo of time. He had followed all the trails, even to the cemetery at Mission Dolores, where Madeleine came to pray at the grave of a woman long since dead, whom she should not have known. He followed Madeleine, as Scotty had done, to the Museum of the Legion of Honor, before the portrait of a dead woman she should not have known, and on the portrait, as in Madeleine's hair, the spiral of time. A small Victorian hotel where Madeleine disappeared had disappeared itself. Concrete had replaced it, at the corner of Edie and Gow. On the other hand, the sequoia cut was still in Muir Woods. On it, Madeleine traced the short distance between two of those concentric lines that measure the age of the tree and said, "Here I was born, and here I died." He remembered another film in which this passage was quoted. The sequoia was the one in the Jardin des Plantes in Paris, and the hand pointed to a place outside the tree, outside of time. From this fake tower, the only thing that Hitchcock had added, he imagined Scotty as time's fool of love, finding it impossible to live with memory without falsifying it, inventing a double for Madeline in another dimension of time, a zone that would belong only to him, and from which he could decipher the undecipherable story that had begun at Golden Gate, when he had pulled Madeline out of San Francisco Bay, when he had saved her from death before casting her back to death. Or was it the other way round?
So that's the spiral of time. It's an interesting concept, and I want to use that to sort of springboard onto other things. So when we write something, usually a teacher will deliver a prompt. You know, what are we going to write about? And so that's supposed to get your mind going and thinking many other things, or whatever that's unique to your mind. And in this scene, the director links different images, the spiral of time, not just in the in Kim Novak's hair, but also in the log. How does that work? How does time work? The idea of being inside and outside of time. If you ask many veterans, those who've seen combat, they know what it's like to be out of time. That their thoughts going back to the war, not just memories, sometimes in dreams and nightmares. Those who suffer from PTSD, they'll think that they're still back there, still back in Vietnam or Korea or Germany or Iraq or wherever they happen to serve. Sometimes they feel it's a different feeling after you come back from a war. It's hard to fit back into normal society. It works differently than the way that the world of the war works. So in many ways, many veterans are living outside of time. So these different ideas, right? And then Mark Harry uses this metaphor of the spiral of time, metaphors, similes, analogies, all different ways to express an idea in the framework of a story. So I would like you to spend, well, we're going to take 15 minutes or so, but I'll be available to answer any questions, any ideas you may have, trying to help you get in there. And there's also the idea of spiraling. We talk about in writing, we talk about circling an idea. So a spiral, a circle, keep returning to that same idea. My niece wrote a story called Boiling Oil that's going to be appearing in the UC Davis literary magazine. And she used to, her late boyfriend was Panamanian, and they would boil plantains. They would deep fry plantains, so they would dip the plantain in the oil. And the story is called Boiling Oil, and she returns to this idea several times in the story. Right? And it makes the story stronger. We have this, it evokes an image, an idea, a picture in our mind. We see them in the kitchen, uh, placing the plantains in the boiling oil, but it also represents other things. And so finding something like that, finding something like the plantain, like the spiral of time in the hair, in the log, a different idea,